Coming to you from Lumen Field in Seattle, Washington, where the Monsterenergy AMA Supercross Championship is back in action. As is often the case in Seattle, Mother Nature is attempting to shake things up with unpredictable weather leading up to race day. Heavy rain earlier in the week put track conditions in question, but the race crew took precautions by covering the track with plastic. Now that it's been uncovered, we're seeing a mix of soft, muddy sections and drier areas, making this a true test of skill for riders in both the 250SX West and 450SX classes. The forecast calls for a 50% chance of light rain later in the morning, meaning the track could see even more changes before the night show. As of now, despite some standing water in low spots, the dirt is holding up better than expected. The race organizers have even brought in extra dirt to improve problem areas and made several modifications to the track's original design to accommodate the moisture. Now, let's get into the action from qualifying. 250SX. After a month-long break, the 250SX West Division is back in action, with all eyes on Hayden Deegan, the current points leader. Deegan holds a 12-point lead over Julian Boehmer, but his rival hasn't looked quite the same since dislocating his shoulder in Arlington. Boehmer is still in contention, but will need a strong ride tonight to regain some momentum. Meanwhile, a familiar face is back on the gate, Jordan Smith, who has been sidelined since suffering a punctured lung, lacerated spleen, and 4 broken ribs in Arlington. Although Smith is 44 points out of the championship lead, this isn't about title hopes. It's about returning to competition and proving he still has the speed to win races. Having a race winner back in the mix always adds excitement, and Smith could shake things up tonight. The 450SX championship battle is intensifying, with Chase Sexton closing the gap on Cooper Webb. Last weekend in Birmingham, Sexton delivered a dominant performance, taking the win and cutting Webb's lead from 15 points down to just 8. Tonight's race in Seattle could play a pivotal role in the title fight as the series enters the backstretch of the season. Both Sexton and Webb know the stakes are high, and given the challenging track conditions, anything can happen. The soft, rutted dirt will make for unpredictable racing, forcing riders to stay on their toes all night. .250SX qualifying, first sessions. With untimed practice canceled due to wet conditions, riders were forced to learn the track on the fly, while also laying down fast laps. This made the first-time session especially important, as deteriorating conditions could make it difficult to improve times later. None of that seemed to bother Hayden Deegan, who wasted no time making a statement. He looked as aggressive as ever, throwing down a 47.956 second lap, besting Cole Davies' 49.213. Deegan wasn't done there. He improved his time to 47.774, stamping his authority early. Of course, his gear was drawing plenty of attention as well. The Alpine Stars kit featured bold black and white stripes, an unmistakable nod to his recent arrest for stunt driving in Florida. Whether intentional or not, it was a bold fashion statement to match his aggressive riding style. One key rhythm section proved tricky for most of the field. Riders had to land on the downside of a table before tripling through the remainder of the section. Only Deegan and Davies managed to execute the full sequence cleanly, but interestingly, Deegan set his fastest lap by taking a more conservative on-off approach rather than attempting the full rhythm. 450SX qualifying, first sessions. A major absence in this session was Jason Anderson, who is not racing today due to a family emergency. Details remain unclear, but for now, his status for the next round remains uncertain. Cooper Webb came out firing, setting a 48.307 before improving to a 48.060 to lead the session. Meanwhile, Chase Sexton struggled, finishing only 7th fastest with a 49.090. Sexton tried to throw down a heater late in the session, but made a mistake in the first corner after the finish line, nearly sending himself into the safety net. On his next attempt, he didn't seem to be pushing as hard, leaving Webb with his best qualifying session of the year, while Sexton endured his worst. The track was already breaking down quickly, with deep ruts forming in rhythm sections. Given the rain-soaked conditions, line selection will be critical once racing begins. 250SX combined qualifying. No surprises here. Hayden Deegan remained the fastest rider on the track. On his 4th lap, he laid down a blistering 46.993, securing the fastest time of the day in the 250SX class. Julian Boehmer looked much improved in this session, recording a 47.286 to take second. Meanwhile, Michael Mosiman became the only other rider to break into the 47-second range, posting a 47.783. A special shout-out goes to Derek Kelly, who managed to qualify 5th overall despite being in the B group. The earlier session likely gave him the advantage of a freshly groomed track, but still, a fantastic performance. Unfortunately, not all riders had a smooth session. Josh Veyrijs suffered a major crash toward the end of qualifying, prompting a red flag. He had to be carted off on a stretcher in the Alpine Stars medical mule, and at this time, his status for tonight's race remains unclear. 450SX combined qualifying. Chase Sexton's qualifying session started with a hiccup, as he got stuck in the starting gate during practice start. Fortunately, that moment was just a minor blip, as he rebounded to finish second fastest with a 47.121. However, the fastest time of the day belonged to Justin Cooper, who set an impressive 46.899 on only his third lap. Outside of these performances, the session was relatively uneventful, but with a soft and rutted track, tonight's race is shaping up to be a battle of endurance and precision. Final thoughts and what's next? With qualifying in the books, all eyes turn to tonight's racing, which kicks off at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Can Deegan convert his speed into another dominant victory? Will Sexton or Webb make a statement in the 450 class? How will the track conditions impact the racing as the night goes on? One thing is certain, Seattle Supercross is about to deliver some must-watch action. Stay tuned for full race coverage and results.